A True Ghost Story, The Ancient Graveyard, by Suma and Daniel Scott Batten. It was a ring-darn foolish Halloween night when we drove along the coast of the mighty, deep, brooding, heavy and cold, utterly and bitterly devilish Atlantic Ocean. We should have taken the hint and turned ourselves around right and quick. I forgot, in my frantic state, to tell you I had with me, in spirit and in body, 3 other friends. My friend Melody, her boyfriend Alex, me, and Daniel. We felt it reasonable, which should make the hairs on your nape giggle with horrid whisker, for it was indeed, and in action, a particularly stupid idea to accommodate. We, by some moral decay and lapse of infinite degree, together made the decision to drive to the oldest and most obscure, darkly shaded graveyard, deep in the wretched hours of the night, and indulge some sickened need, for thrill and thrill we did find. I remember there was a strangely eerie, cyan tint to the evening sky, and the sea seemed hushed, like it was in a wretched state of fear. It turned silent by some convolution of dervish kint, like it wanted to warn us to make a retreat. But somehow it knew the thoughts of God, or the intuition of devilish prank. Luna was astute and luring with her full-faced smirk, her light a tangle of illumination and sleight of hand. She called to us in a haunting sort of glow, like a mysterious orb of haunt and spectre, like the moon and the sea where traps, or guides for the faux pas, laid just for us, meant to give us enough despair, that might, by sickening intrigue, carry our ignorant minds into a want of new dread. The night moved quickly, the hour drive felt eternal. It felt slowed down, and yet quick as a flash. Suddenly, as if by impulse, we drove into a bittersweet, tangled grove-like dirt parking lot. The mood shifted. Excitement and curiosity loomed. Wisdom and learning were not to be found. We leapt like lions, hungry for a hunt, and a hunt indeed found us. I don't remember. How could I bear to retrace the thought? If a plasmatic fog had lingered in a frenzied haze, or if it is pure delicacy of jackstraw, or the whim of Poe which brings it to mind. But the mood was hurried, it was cast, with all the means of a movie where nobody gets out alive. The fecundity was rife, the emptiness of void, bold in its darkness. Guided by the ignis fatuus of spiritual desire, we made our graven steps towards the yard of ominous death. I feel now, in my currency of understanding, that the cemetery was hungry. It wanted to be fed, and we were just the meat to feed its desires for blood. Daniel and Alex went in ahead of us girls, men of stupid ego, or saints of a higher calling. You be the judge. It was a small, square-shaped ancient place of the dead, old moss-riddled stones, and names mostly obscured, mostly unused today. It was like an old sanctuary to the gods of Rome, or Greece had been untangled. We steadily moved forward, laughing, vying for each other's fawning, or apprehensive state to be exposed before our own. We made our way deep, into the transfixtures of this loom of reckoning by the upper wall of large grey and mossy rocks, when amidst our jests and jaunts of self-bravado, Melody and I heard something, music. Daniel and Alex seemed tone-deaf to it all, perhaps caught up in a manly game of ennui, or lost in their intrigue. They did not perceive the first warning. The music returned, louder and irater than before. Melody, panic-stricken, begged for the men to acknowledge the twist of slithering tone. Daniel, braver perhaps than Alex, said he had heard it. The men looked at each other, saying in unison, "It is music box music." Then, forsaken, shaking, hand obliquely, devastatingly, pointing to the distant corner, Melody shrieked. We all looked. There was a swarthy, lurking spectre. No light could pierce its composition. The mood soured, the tingles of dread and horror erupted from us like molten lava. We were hot with vicious wrenching. Our spirits wrung out like a sponge. The shade moved closer and closer, row by row, gaining on us. It called to us in nature. It beckoned for us to remain, a temptation too dire for our living spirits to indulge. I do not remember who broke first, but no one can say they were more brave. We all, in some grisly order, sprung away in horror, falling into ourselves. Somehow, some way, God intervened in our favour, and we made it terrified back to the car. I do not remember, none of us remember, what transpired next. The only memory we have from thence is when we left. We had to turn the car back at the graveyard, and looming, lurking, calling us back, was that singular demon of the night.